Okay. So let's get started. Okay. It has been nice chatting with you before we started. So let us get started. Let me introduce myself first. I am an educational consultant and a teacher trainer and the founder of Teaching ESL Hub. I'm also the newsletter editor for IETFL Ibsen SIG and the member at large also at the international at TESOL International SIG, which is called a second language writing as well. It has been a pleasure joining the virtual roundtable. It's always a pleasure working with the virtual roundtable and working with Hive. Today, we are going to discuss some online tools for assessment because as you already know that during last year we had to move online and we had to try different things. Some of them were successful and others did not work well for others. So we had to try many things until we get to something that is suitable for our work and our students and our curriculum and our environment. Before we start, I will start, let me show you the agenda. I'm going to speak about how can teachers of young learners seek help from the new CEFR revisions. What about online assessment tools for the four language skills, speaking, listening, or listening, speaking, reading, writing, and then the references at the end. Before I start, let me ask you, have you had the chance to look at the new CEFR revisions which were introduced by the end of 2017 and beginning of 2018? Have you had the chance to take a look at them or use it as a tool? Oh, okay. What about the other participants? Anybody else has tried to use the CEFR or the new CEFR revisions or try to know more about it or attend sessions explaining about it or things of the sort? You can write in the chat, you can open your mic, it's up to you. I have Natalia. Oh, that's great. Which part have you used, Natalia? Any changes and I have forgotten what they are. Okay. All parts, that's quite interesting. Any special comments concerning this, the new CEFR revisions that you'd like to share with us before we go ahead? Since you have used it as a kind of application in your classes, so it's a kind, so you have the practical background, so it would be great if you can give us a sneak about your experience. Okay, Natalia, are you here? If you'd like to open your mic and tell us, I'm not sure what I can say, sorry. Okay, okay. Okay, so let's, before we start, we start the whole idea of the CEFR and giving you an idea about this assessment tool, let me show you first, let me ask you first to do something practical with me. I would like you to go to this link and open it and do the quiz as quickly as possible. Notice that the timer is working as well. If you get there, if it allows you to put your name, put it. If not, just move on and do the quiz right away. Come on, you have a few seconds to do that. This is how it's going to look like if you can see it on the screen. This is how it's going to look like. Can you see it on the screen? Okay. Have you started using it? Oh, Diana, that's great. That's great. Have you got all them right? You didn't do very well. It's okay. It's okay. Neither did I. It's okay, no problem. Did you enjoy the quiz itself? Okay, no problem, no problem. Don't worry about this. Don't worry. We are just checking things. Did you like the game itself? It's fun, yes, sure. Yes, sure. Quiz is always fun. Okay. Have you all done it? Can you see the quiz on my screen? Can you see the quiz on my screen? Okay, let me show it once more. Oh, okay. Here it is. Can you see it now? Okay, thank you. Okay, have you all finished? This is supposed to be the leaderboard, which shows me, but it seems that there's something wrong with the internet. It shows me how many persons got in and what have they scored and how much time have they taken. So you can ask your students as well to use this one on Wordle, as you have already seen on Wordle, and they can do it very quickly if you would like to recap or revise something inside the class. So I have decided to use this as a kind of start for our discussion about the new CEFR revisions. Okay, I hope that the rest of you have already got good grades as well. Okay, so let me stop sharing this. Okay, and let's get back to the PowerPoint. Okay. The CEFR started in 2001, by the end of 2001, and they have divided it into 6 scales: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, and they just mainly aimed at using it for developing curriculum and for assessing students for exams like the IELTS exam, for example. During this went on for a very long time until in 2017 they decided to do new revisions for the CEFR, and at the beginning they with the very first CEFR they have put assessment for the levels of the students for different scales according to the 4 skills of the language: the listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But many teachers complained about the idea that when we want to fit our students in these skills, sometimes they don't fit in quite well because some of the students are either before A1 or between A1 and A2, or between A2 and B1, and so on. So after they have made lots of interviews with teachers around Europe, they came to the idea that they have added some new changes. They added a level here before A1, they call it a pre-A1, another one called A1 plus, A2 plus, B1 plus, and B2 plus, but they left C1 and C2 as they are. With the former CEFR, they have set descriptors for all these levels according to the skills of the language, for 4 skills of the language: the listening, speaking, reading, writing. But this one, they had it differently. They divided the overall language proficiency into general competences, communicative language competences, communicative language activities, and strategies. The most important thing that they have concentrated on here is this category. They started with savoir. Savoir means what? Means knowledge. you as teachers, you provide your students with knowledge, whether it's vocabulary or grammar or whatever. And then what do you, when your students finish, you would like them to do exercises inside the book or worksheets to apply what they have studied and check if they have already learned, understood the lesson quite well or not. You can ask them to do choose the correct answer, fill in the spaces, rearrange to form words. Maybe you can ask them for higher levels to arrange different paragraphs to form a correct comprehension passage, to answer questions for a story that they have studied. And then savoir être. If you introduce an idea, this knowledge that you have to introduce to your own students, you want them to use it practically in order to be able to speak and write about different topics. So you help, how do you help them? How do you help them as a teacher in order to be able to use the new vocabulary and the new grammar learned in order to speak about different topics? For example, in the different books that we have, we can find different topics about climate change, which is very popular nowadays, volcanoes, relations between people, the problem of the lockdown, and so on. But then, the most important thing that they have stressed over here, that we need not only help them to speak about different topics, but also to personalize their own learning, savoir apprendre. When they learn the new vocabulary and the new grammar, why are they learning the language? They are learning the language for real language use. And that's why they if we want to be successful enough with helping our students to learn the language, we would help them to be able to personalize their own learning, to be able to use the vocabulary and the grammar learned in order to speak about topics that are related to them. So if we are going to speak about the climate change, for example, what about your country, what about your city, what's really happening? So we are personalizing things. So they would be able to express their own views, tell us what they think, and so this would help them to develop well with the learning of the language. The same thing happened here with the communicative language competences, the linguistic side. We said with the savoir faire, they have to learn about the grammar. Sociolinguistic, how are they going to use the grammar and the vocabulary to speak about different topics, and the pragmatic means the realistic one, real language use of the language. And then they moved on to different descriptors, as we said before. With the old CEFR, they have explained the scales according to the four language skills, the listening, speaking, reading, writing. With the new one, they got it differently. They have set it into the form of receptive skills and productive skills, reception, production, interaction, and mediation. They have gathered the receptive skills, which are the listening and the reading together, and they have set different examples of activities for the teachers to choose from in order to help the students to develop the learning in the form of group work and pair work, which they stressed very much. And they have done the same thing with the productive activities, the speaking and the writing. And they have stressed the idea of interaction. They have stressed the idea of interaction. Thank you. They have stressed the idea of interaction, that it is very, very important that we divide our classes into groups or pairs and ask them to do certain activities. And after these activities, the students have to come up and present what they have found out concerning the questions or the exercises that we are giving them. And they have to present it any way you see it according to your own classes. They can present it in the form of a chart, in the form of a PowerPoint. They can just do a role play, whatever they are going to do according to your own plans for your own activities. And they have stressed this very much because they said that interaction is very important because we are helping students to use the language preliminary. And so when they go out in life, they will be able to use it in everyday life and be able to communicate with other people much easier. And then they stress the idea of mediation, which is the text itself. What kind of text are you going to use to help your students to study your objective? Is it going to be a video? Is it going to be a picture? Is it going to be a comprehension passage, a story? Whatever it is. And then they have suggested ideas for different strategies that you can use in class, and they have already stressed very much the idea of the usage of group work and pair work and discussing the concepts and the ideas of the different lessons. Then after that, I'm sorry, I'm giving you a very brief idea over here because we have to discuss the online tools as well. This is how the descriptors are divided in the new CEFR revisions. For example, for the speaking, for the receptive activity, overall listening comprehension, they give you here starting with pre-A1, A1, A2, and so on. What are the abilities of the students at each level? So you as a teacher, you would have a very good idea about the abilities of the students at these stages of learning the language, and you can plan your own activities according to that. And then you can go back to the competencies that we have just discussed and check the different ideas that they have given you. Of course, these are lots of ideas. You can just choose what's suitable for you. Or sometimes we use activities but we forget about them, so they remind us of these activities to be able to refresh them and use them once more. So here, as you can, if you take a look at the pre-A1 here, can understand short, very simple question statements provided that they are delivered slowly and clearly and accompanied by visuals or manual gestures to support understanding and repeated if necessary. So here, you as a teacher, you would be able to realize the pace that you are going to use with to follow or to move according to with your own students. What are their exact needs? What do you want them? How would you help them to learn the language step by step without pushing them too much, and then they are going to lose their confidence. So these help us as teachers in to assess our own students if we are already have classes of pre-A1 or A1 or whichever level. And then at the same time, it helps us to prepare our own activities, which we are going to use with our own students. Not only that, but you can use these also to make very simple templates of assessment to give to your own students by the end of the week or the unit or the month, and then ask them to check what they are able to do so far. For example, here can understand short, very simple questions. Is it right or wrong? How far are you doing well with this? You can put them grades from 1 to 5. 1 is the least, 5 is the highest. Or you can, if they are much younger, you can give them smiling face, sad face, and maybe face, and so on. So you can use these to form your own templates as teachers for assessment to check to help your students to give you feedback of their own learning, and at the same time you can have your own templates as a teacher in order to help yourself to assess your own students as they are going on with the learning. Another way with another way how the descriptors are set, for example, with the mediation, they have divided the idea of the mediation into mediating a text, mediating concepts, mediating communication, and again, they give you description of the abilities of the students at these levels concerning mediation. For example, if you take a look at B1, for example, here, I can convey information given in clear, well-structured informational texts on subjects that are familiar or of personal or current interest. So here you realize the level of the text that you are going to bring to your own students. If you want to check them, their understanding, how far are you going to do it? So these help you to do some kind of assessment for your work and the assessment of the work of your own students while things are going on in class. So you test things. So if they go well, that's fine. If you want to adjust them, you have the chance to do that by getting back once more to these descriptors. So these are the new changes that have been set by the new CEFR revisions. And another idea here, how are they have already done 2 parallel projects as well for the CEFR. One that has to do with young learners, and the other one has to do with sign language for people who are deaf, who cannot hear. So today we are going to discuss this one for young learners. We as teachers, you can be teaching students from ages 7 to 10 or either from 11 to 15. So they have divided this parallel project into these two parts. They have divided into a volume for ages 7 to 10 teachers who are teaching ages 7 to 10. What is there for the teacher, or what are there for the teachers? They divided it according to the different levels, as you can see here. They have this told you which part are they discussing over here, production strategies, for example. And they tell you here in the first column that the student can work out how to communicate the main points he or she wants to get across, exploiting any resources available and limiting the message to what he or she can recall and find the means to express. If you go a little lower here, can correct mix up with tenses or expressions which lead to misunderstandings provided the interlocutor indicates that there is a problem. So they are giving you as a teacher a kind of assessment or an overview or an outlook of the level of the abilities of the students at this level. So is this relevant for the ages 7 to 10? Yes, it's relevant. So they said it here, it's relevant or not. And then what will the students be able to do exactly at these levels? For example, I can use a simpler synonym or describe in other words, the words I don't know or have forgotten. I can use another simple word with the same meaning and ask my partner to correct my mistakes. So again, you can use these new description of the abilities of the students at this level in order to make assessment for yourself as a teacher or self-assessment for the students as well. Here is another one for levels A2 and A2 plus again. Again, they give you the abilities of the students, can write about everyday aspects of his or her environment. And then what can they really do? I can write a little about my school and my friends. I can write a little about what we are doing in class. I can write sentences about whether the day is I like, the clothes we need, and so on. So see, they are giving you details of the things that the students can do at this level, which can help you with the planning of your own activities. And is it relevant? Yes, it's relevant. Again, you can find more for the written interaction. You can find more for online interaction, which is very interesting because this is one of the ideas that they stressed again with the new revisions of the SEF. Here you can also find these ones for levels B1, B1 plus for ages 11 to 15. Again, they give you the description of the skills of the students. Is it relevant? And then they give you details for it. By the way, the new CEFR revisions have been made in many languages, translated to many languages, including Arabic, but the Arabic one is not a standard one. It's just a kind of a way to help the Arab teachers to learn about the CEFR. But the CEFR itself has been translated to nearly all the languages of the European continent. One of the very interesting things that we can find also on the same website of the new CEFR, they call it the new companion volume. These are the different templates of assessment that you can use if you would like to help yourself with your own students. It depends on the level of the students. For example, here, these are the things I have learned. These are the things I enjoyed learning, the things that were easy, things that were difficult. All these are for free on the same website, and I've set the links at the end of the presentation. Again, another kind of assessment here. Things I like, I don't like, I'm not sure about. So you can check the kind of activities that interest your students more than others. So you can use it to help them learn, get more interested in learning the language and developing it. Another one, my word wall. We are learning about the name of the lesson or the unit and or the topic, and these are the words I learned. So it's a kind of recap or a revision for the students by the end of the week, for example, or the day, or so on. Again, when I want to learn something new, I like to hear it first and then say, this is very important for students, especially at the very early levels. Again, you can use it with different stages, even with the university students, to get their opinion of things and understand them better and be able to plan your activities in a much better way. Again, another one, learn how to learn, attitude and motivation and general learning activities. What motivates you? What motivates your students, and how you can use these elements of motivation to help them to get more interested in learning the language. There are lots and lots of these templates over there, and they are divided into sorry, they are graded from very young learners or simple learners to even adults and university students. Then we get to the online tools over here, online assessment tools. Let me, before we go ahead again here, let me try to guess how far you have grasped what we have been speaking about. Let us work this quiz together. I'm sorry. Can you see it now on my screen? It's taking a little more time because of the internet. Can you see this? Thank you, Muhammad. Can you see it now? Okay, that's great. Let's. Uh, this is called the wheel, the learning wheel. You can put the questions that you want. This is also on word wall, and you can have the questions, and then you can spin it. And when the question stops, you can answer the question. Let's start with the first one. Are there descriptors for the four skills in the new CEFR? Who can answer? Are there, try to remember, we said when the new changes took place, have they depended on the four skills of the language, or what did they do? No. Thank you, Odette and Diana. That's great. Okay, let's eliminate. Okay, let's spin once more. How have they applied how have they applied it to teaching the young learners? What did they do? What did they do to apply it to teaching young learners? Remember, we have been speaking about? No, try. We've been speaking about the different descriptors now of the young learners from 7 to 10 and 11 to 15. Did they call it? They call it the parallel project. They call it the parallel project. So they have done the parallel project. Yes, and then the last two. How are the new descriptors introduced? Again, yes, they have been described, as we have said, according to the four competences. And according to the competences, not according to the four language skills. Okay, and then the last one. Are there assessment templates to help? Remember, I've just shown you before we started the game. Yes, thank you, Odette. Yes, assessment templates that I've just shown you. Again, so this is on Wordle. You can choose to make this random wheel, and you can put all the questions that you want, and then you can use it with your own students. Let me get back again to the PowerPoint. So as we have just mentioned, that they have already set for us these different assessment tools, which helped us a lot as teachers in class because they help us with these different kinds of descriptors. They help us to assess our own students and know what they think about and what they like, what they don't like, and how we can help them get more interested with the learning of the language. What about the online assessment tools? We are going to start first with the speaking because it's very interesting. We have this website which is called the Voxpro. Have you heard about the Voxpro? Yes, here, can you see this? Let me share it with you once more. Can you see it now? This is called the Voxel Pop. It depends on, um, jokes. You can put a joke and you can ask your students to comment on it. So here, for example, I got Minecraft from my girlfriend, best trade I've ever made. So this Vox Pop, you'll find the links in the presentation as I'm going on. You put either random jokes or you make your own. There are different categories for different jokes, or you can add even your own jokes and you can ask the students to comment on them. So it's a kind of a practice for speaking, and it's a funny one. So the students would like the idea, and so they would like to add more what we call more jokes as they are going on, but you have also to control it so that they won't use slang words, or they use words which are not appropriately used in class. This is one of them. Another one is the Flipgrid. The Flipgrid is very interesting because again, you can add different topics of discussion, create a topic as you can see over here, as they have small, short, what we call introduction to the whole website. You add your own topic and then you share it with your class, and then you put the different questions that you want your students to discuss, and then they can either write their own opinions, or they can just record their own voices while they are commenting on the different topics. And so you open them, you listen to them, and you can check that. You can use that as a kind of practice for speaking in class, and you can use that as a kind of testing for the students. At the time of testing online, if you won't be able to take them to class face to face. Yes, there is French as well. There is more than one language, and they are going to get used to this. So when you come to the exam, it's going to be much easier for them and for you as well to use it as a tool. And then you can record all the answers of the students, and then you can go later on and assess them at your own pace. So this is also this is called Flipgrid. Another one, which is very interesting as well, which is called word wall, the one that I've been using now. You can use the word wall to put different kinds of questions, and these kinds of questions you would like to discuss through them. Different topics for the students to, for example, to use the vocabulary that you have introduced them, the grammar that you have introduced. If you've been speaking about climate change and you want them to use the present simple, present continuous, and present perfect as a kind of mix-up of these tenses. So you can help them with different kinds of questions for different tenses, and you can play it as we have mentioned here, like the random wheel, or like the very first quiz that you have already done with me. Or there are other different kinds of ideas that you can use, but if it's for free only to use three themes, but if you want to use more, you have to pay for it. It's very interesting. You can add the sounds that you like, different themes, different pictures, different backgrounds. So it's going to be very interesting for the students. Voki also is very interesting. Again, the students go over there, they make an account for themselves, they choose a design for an avatar, and then they record their own voices according to what you want them to do. For example, you've been discussing the idea of volcanoes today, so you want them to go back home and tell us your opinion, their opinion about what you have discussed today. Or you set a number of questions and you ask them to give you answers to these questions already. So, and then they give you back their links to these accounts, and then you listen to them, and then you can evaluate. You tell them you have to take care of your pronunciation, you have to improve your sentence structure, and the same thing can be done with the tests as well. There is also the extempore, but it's not free. You have to pay for it. Vocaro, it's the same idea. Again, it's very, very interesting. Again, again, it depends on what kind of website you'd like to use. Nearly they are all the same. This is just for recording. The students record their voices and you can listen to it later on. The speaker clock timer is very, very interesting because sometimes the students are afraid when they come to the exam because they know that they have, like, for example, the IELTS exam, they have to speak, for example, for 3 minutes. So sometimes they speak too much, so they exceed the time limit, and sometimes they speak too little and they get frustrated and they stop in the middle because they believe they are not doing well. So they lose track of time. So you can help them with the speaker clock timer to get a kind of practice for the timing. So when they get to the exam, they are much less tensioned and they can learn how to do better with the speaking. There is also this idea of the speaking for you as a teacher. How can you evaluate the teaching? Sorry, yeah. One of the ideas of evaluating or assessing, let's not say evaluating, assessing the teaching, the listening, the speaking itself. There is this framework set by Cambridge Assessment English. You can find it online, and the link again is at the very end of the presentation. You can find here a suggestion from Cambridge, how you can evaluate the speaking of the students in an exam. For example, grammatical resource, lexical resource, discourse management, pronunciation, interactive communication, grammar and vocabulary. Again, it depends on the level of the students, the kind of students, the environment, what exactly do you want to assess by giving them a speaking exam. So it depends on the whole system that you are already working through. But you can use some of these elements again to help yourself to assess speaking in a much easier way for your own students. And there are more details and more ideas for it if you go through it. We're using pictures again and using videos and so on, so it can help a lot. Again, with the listening. With the listening, one of the best websites that you can use in order to assess the listening for your own students is the website of, I'm sorry, just a second, website of the British Council, which is called Learning English Kids. Learning English, I'm sorry, just Learn English. This website, if you go here to the toolbar, can you see this? Can you see this, the website over here? Are you following me? Okay. So this is the website of the British Council. When you get to skills here, you find the 4 skills here, the language skills, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And concerning the idea of this listening, when you get over there with the listening, you find different levels, beginner A1, pre-intermediate A2, and so on. So if you click on one of them, you get a number of listening passages, conversations that the students can listen to And then there are activities for each one of them to work on, to test if they have really understood the listening or not. For example, here, if you can see this, there is the preparation, if you'd like to use the preparation as a kind of introduction for the vocabulary and so on, and the topic, and then the transcript, that's for you. And then task one, for example, yes, here, if, for example, they have to match the different ideas together, they can choose the correct answer, they can fill in the spaces, they can manage, match the vocabulary, different vocabulary, or they can ask questions. And then for you as a teacher, you can download the whole worksheet over here with the answers, by the way. So it's really, really interesting. It's divided into different levels. I've used it with my university students. It's very, very practical, very easy to use for the students, and very easy to use for you as a teacher. And you can use it even for assessment of your own students. And then if we move on to, this is concerning the listening. If we move on to the reading, we have different interesting apps again. We have Vox. The books is full of very interesting stories. They are being told by different people with different sounds, and then you can show it to your students, and then you can discuss it with them or give them certain questions to answer according to what they have already heard through the narration of the story. It's very, very, very interesting for the students. There is also this thing link again. Let me show it to you. This one. It's very interesting. You can uh, turn things into videos. All the stories that you have, you can add to them different videos and images. And like this one, for example, and you can teach your students how to do that. It's very simple, not complicated at all. You can put images with the info that you want your students to read, so it can be kind of guide for them while reading. Again, they can use different ideas, as you can see here for a map, if you are dealing with something that has to do with the geography. Different documents, projects, nature and culture. As you can see here, different pictures, and there is the info under it. The students can do that with their own reading, so it's a kind of practice for them during the term or during the year to do this, so it would help them with a better understanding of reading. So when you come to the exam and you add a picture to an article like this and give it to them with certain questions, it would be much easier for them to understand and develop as they go ahead. Another idea also, which is very interesting, another app, which is the add puzzle, more or less same idea, play, pause it, and video notes. Both of them, you can add sound and video to them. And we have the famous Socrative, Quizlet, and Quizalize. I would like you to do a quiz with me on Quizalize and tell you about it. Would you please go to this, write this on Google, this zi.sh only. And then when you get there, enter this code for the quiz and do the quiz very quickly. Let me put it for you here on the in the box. Put first the double Z I dot sh first, and when you get there, take a copy of the whole code and do the quiz very quickly. And notice that you have 30 seconds for each question. What about the reading, Muhammad? Yes. It's about assessment. Yes, assessment. And I will tell you how you can apply this to reading. Any luck with the quiz? Yes, you can choose any name you like for yourself. It's not necessary to put your real name. This is the list of names that you're going to get. So if your name is not there, and of course it's not there, write your name and then start the quiz right away. Yes, yes, it's the quiz list. Yes. How far has it been successful for you? I'm done. Great, Yana. Great, great, great. Can you see my screen now? Yeah, class 1 to 5. Okay. Okay, Muhammad, have you finished? Yana, have you finished? Okay. What about Odette? Have you finished? Who else did the quiz? Okay, yes, Muhammad, you did. Okay, that's great. So let us check the grade book. Okay, can you see? This is the online quiz over here. Okay, we are supposed to see. Yes, here we have. What names did you give yourself, Joe, for example? What other names did you give yourself? Did you choose the online assessment? Joe, Yana, Joe. Okay, so Yana, you are here. What about Muhammad and Odette and the others? Make sure that when you finish, you say submit and finish. Make sure. Yeah, you are Aya. Okay, that's great. That's great. So Aya, here you have 2 out of 3, and it's 67%. And Jane, that's a different one. Joe, yeah, again, you have 2 out of 3, 67. Any others? Yeah, where are the others? As you can see, these are attendees from different sessions that I did before. Yes. Yes, well, I gave them before. So again, they did different kinds of exercises, as you can see here. So when you finish and you press submit and finish, your results come right away over here. And so the teacher would be able to see it. So you can display the results over here, as you can see, either by the last name or by the highest first or the lowest first, as you wish. Display the best attempt, because you can give your students the chance to do it more than once, and you can hide the correct answers so they won't be able to see it. So when you do this quiz on Quizalize, you can do it for the reading. They can read something, and then they can you discuss it with them, and then they can get here and they do the quiz right away, very simply like this, as you've already seen. And so you get the results right away, and you know how many questions have they answered, which ones even there are, when you check the mastery list and the activity list, you can find the different, what kind of questions did they miss or they did wrongly, and which ones they have done well with them, and how many students did well with certain questions, and so on. So you can find, when you make your account as a teacher, you can find all this kind of analysis, which can help you with the development of the work that you are doing with your own students. This so far has to do with the reading, and you can also even do it with the speaking. Why not? Listening, sorry, you make them listen to something and then answer questions that you want them to do. It's up to you. And when you create a class, by the way, you create a class, and they give you a link to the class, and they give you a link to the class, so you pass this on to the students. The students open it and do it. They can do it in class, they can do it at home, as you wish. It depends on how you would like them to move on with the kinds of questions and quizzes that you would like to do. If we come on to the writing, we have two very interesting apps over here. We have the beta, which belongs to the Cambridge University Press. It's very interesting one. You can get over there. Your students can get over there according to the different levels. They can choose a topic and they can write about it, and then they press submit, and the website is going to tell them in a few minutes which sentences are correct. So they put it in green, color it in green, which ones need corrections. They put it in orange, and the wrong ones are in red, and they can correct it and resubmit it again, and so on. But when you get to the higher levels, there is even practice for writing for the IELTS and for the FCE of the British Council, and the different other levels, but you have to pay for them because this is much more complicated work. And we have also Grammarly, which corrects also for you. I have a note here about the writing again, which I believe it's one of the best ways that I have followed with my own students in order to help them to develop their own writing. When we want them to practice developing writing, it's much better to start with asking them to make summaries of different reading passages, and then we ask them to write one paragraph about certain topic, just one paragraph, so they can realize the topic sentence, the body, and the concluding sentence. And then we can move on them to bigger paragraphs, more paragraphs. Instead of just one, we have two. And what do we need inside for each paragraph? We need a topic sentence, a body, examples, and we move on to the next one, and so on. So it's much better to do this as kind of graded writing for them, because it helps them to develop the writing process in a much better way, but it needs a lot of patience and time. Heike is telling us that we have just about 2 minutes left. Here I have set on EVO, if you are familiar with it. I have set the course about the new revisions of the CEFR in the form of a course, and it's divided into 4 weeks. You can get over there. It's totally for free. It belongs to EVO, the TESOL International EVO. You can find this is the link to my own course, and the other one is the link to all the topics the courses that have been there. And now we are not following it because it starts by the beginning of January, ends up by the end of February. But all the materials over there, you can benefit from it, and there are even webinars explaining the developments of the new CEFR. These are the references to all the things that I've been discussing concerning the new CEFR revisions, the old one, the new one, the templates, assessment templates, and so on. You can get, if you write to me, I can send you a whole copy of the presentation, so you can get all the links that you want, because I think it's going to be very difficult to put it in the chat now. And here are my contacts. You are most welcome. If you have any questions, you are most welcome. I have here a blog where I put summaries of the different plenary speeches of different conferences with many teaching ideas over there, which you can benefit from. And also, this is my YouTube channel, where you can find different webinars about different topics, and again, interviews with different well-known trainers around the world that you can benefit from their own experience. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure talking to you. I hope you've benefited enough from it. Thank you. If you have any questions, you're most welcome. Thank you.